Hello and welcome back to the All Things Strongman podcast. Today we have episode 3. If you've not listened to the first 2 episodes with Connor Curran and Paddy Haynes, you can do now over on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, Amazon Music, wherever you take in your
Wherever you get
podcasts.
your playlist.
Yes. And also the video version, if you want to watch our faces talk, are available on YouTube as well. But today we have a guest, and you've just heard him, and he's sat there flexing away to himself. We have a 2-time world strongest man competitor, the 2-time reigning defending UK strongest man, many-time England strongest man, an under-23s junior world champion. Any more titles I'm forgetting, Paul?
They're the most of them. The junior
Most
one
of
makes
them.
me feel so old now.
Yeah.
2017. It's like, that was
Yes.
quite a long
I
time
know.
ago.
But yes, obviously it is Paul Smith. I've not given him his full title. And one thing I will do before we start is introduce myself. I realise I've not given an introduction to myself. My name's Adam. I'm the man and the person behind All Things Strongman on Instagram, and now obviously this podcast. I realise in first 2 episodes I've given nobody an inclination of what my name is. I'm just a person that talks. So thought I'd do that first. But Paul, how are you doing? How are things with you?
Yeah, I'm pretty good. Not bad at all. Feeling pretty chilled. I had training, then I had a little massage today, so I'm nice and
Oh,
relaxed.
very nice, very nice. One title I didn't give you, but it will be soon that you will be called this is Dad. You obviously have a baby on the way.
Yes, that's true. We are racing towards Britain's and Nancy being born, and I feel that they could be extremely close.
Yeah, there's a couple of you obviously that have got babies expected sort of around Brits because obviously yourself and Luke Stoltman, it's almost kind of a which baby will arrive first, and will you both make it to Brits?
Yeah, of course, Luke. I think they are 3 weeks after us, so it could be either way. To be fair,
Mm, yeah, it's a bit of an interesting one. But yes, how is Shannon, your obviously lovely wife?
she's good. She's getting to the stage where she can't walk too well, but she's still training well. She did a 100 kilo front squat for 5 today, so she's still doing all right. But I
Wow.
think I think she's just getting a bit bored of being pregnant now. She wants her out.
Right, yeah, fair enough. You always hear that with mums to be. They get to a certain stage and they're just ready for it to sort of be over and the baby to be here.
Yeah, definitely. We've had all the excitement now. Now it's like, right, let's just have the baby.
Yeah. We mentioned Shannon there. I just want to give a word on her. Obviously, potentially the world's strongest couple, I have to say. Obviously, Shannon in her own right is a former world's strongest woman at the under 64 kilo category.
This one.
So definitely a strong household for the baby to be born into.
Yeah, the common assumption is that Nancy is going to be extremely strong, and I'm pretty sure she will be. I'm hoping we have some like wonderful moment of her like arm wrestling some grown up and just destroying her, something like that. I'm sure we'll have a few of those as
That would
she
be really
grows up,
funny.
but we'll see.
Yeah, that would be quite something to see. I'm sure there'll be a few grown-ups out there that would lose to a strong baby or a strong kid coming from those genes. I'm sure it'll be a social media flip for the ages.
Oh yeah, definitely might get some followers.
Definitely. But yes, onto yourself. We'll just cover your sort of last 12 months. It's been a bit of an interesting one for yourself, I'm sure you'd say. How did you find 2023?
Um, so yeah, 2023 it started off really well. Britain's went well. It went very well coming fourth. It was annoying having my worst event,
Yeah.
Bowser's, that did me out of a one podium position.
Mhm.
But that was a very positive start generally. Thankfully, since then, I had a really good power stairs to finish the season on the back end. So that has come on massively. Um, Bit of an up and down one during. Europe's and Worlds didn't go so well.
Mhm.
Not to put a massive downer on the podcast, but we remember we found out we just had a miscarriage a week of Europe's Strongest Man, which wasn't the best
Mhm.
kind of mental headspace for me. And then training for Worlds, but it certainly was one of the few times where training hasn't seemed like my number one focus. Then found out we were pregnant, and then kind of felt much better mentally, much better prepared. Went into UK's feeling really good and positive, and won that, feeling great. And then just had two results towards the back end. England's from Ultimates, England's from the for Strongman, where I felt pretty good, but I just had not the best performance. Like I went in feeling strong, and I had two fourth places where I felt
Yeah.
like I left a few points out there. So I wasn't unhappy where I was generally, but I just feel like I didn't really put it together on the actual comp day. So it was a bit of an annoying way to finish the season. Nothing major like disaster, but it was annoying not to just get another couple of trophies to finish off the year.
Yeah, it's obviously going to be a little bit disappointing. We'll talk about. I just wanted to cover that ultimate strongman, England's strongest man competition. It's obviously a competition you'd won for a number of years previously. Probably the favourite going into it, and then it's that probably that Husfellstone event, that first up. Obviously, you unfortunately finished last, and it was kind of felt like you were chasing your tail a little bit from that point. Then,
Yeah, it was a classic kind of. I felt like I didn't need to train it. It's normally quite a good, not an amazing event, but a pretty good event for me, Husafell. But that's when I prepared on it. I thought I'll be all right, I'll be fine. Picked it up, felt okay, but just kind of when it was kind of in between grips, I thought I'll adjust it now and I should be okay. But I've adjusted it as I've turned, and it's just slipped down. So if anyone was there, I was just sat there wrestling it for probably 10 seconds or so, trying to like lever it on my knee, and it's just too heavy.
mm,
So after a lot of fighting with it, I just had to put it down. So I got like something terrible, like 23 or 24
yeah,
meters. But it was really annoying. But like I said, it was just too many points then to really claw back. But it was just me taking it probably not seriously enough with one of those events. But I feel like a few sessions and I would have put in a pretty good distance. But it's just a lesson learned for the future.
definitely, and that's I'm sure all every bad performance leads to a lesson that you can learn and take away. I'm sure.
Oh yeah, of course. So it was an annoying one, that one, but did have some good events. But yeah, definitely need to put a bit more prep in for next year. Not take it for granted.
Yeah. Um, Jump back to that Britain's Strongest Man, obviously last year, going into that final event, second place, which I'm sure a lot of people, I hope you don't mind me saying, would have been surprised to see you that high up. Obviously, expecting you to do well, but maybe not up there in that second place, maybe pushing for a podium, but not quite second. How did you feel that event went, that competition went as a whole for yourself? Obviously, you went and broke the Viking Press World Record. Um, and the shock on your face is a great picture. I'm sure you'll have potentially up in your home, just that look of surprise and almost delight on your face at the same time.
Yeah, it was good. That I mean, I don't sound too big headed. I thought I was probably going to win the event and break it because I knew with having such a grouping on 12, I thought
Yeah,
there's no way with how good I was feeling that I'm not better than the pack, if you know what I mean.
yeah,
So I thought I'm pretty confident I was going to break it, but then it just felt very easy. So it was quite comfortable. I looked up, I thought, oh wow, that was simple. But just everything came together. I
yeah.
trained it really hard, and the setup just felt really good for me. Normally, I'm impeded by my height a little bit,
Mm,
but on that one, I could just give it the full beans with the legs. So yeah, it just went perfectly on that one. Overall, the comp went really well. Just consistent up until the power stairs. Like deadlift was pretty good,
mm,
a good yoke. Again, nothing perfect. Like loading medley was good, not perfect, but I was just up there in the points all the way through, feeling good. And then it was just an iron power stairs because I was getting really psyched up, really going for it, but I just knew I wasn't really strong enough to finish them all, and I had to go out and aim to do five quickly. There was no, oh, if I get four implements, that's a P, but it still would have been off the podium. So I
yeah.
really just had to attack it, and then ended up failing the fourth, which was annoying because it was just kind of shit or bust. It was you either get it incredibly massive PB, or there's no point doing anything less. So it was just one of those. But annoyingly, it was just the worst probable event it could really be.
Still a great performance though to say that you were fourth at Britain's Strongest Man. Obviously your best result at that competition so far. Um, looking ahead, then obviously we've got Britain's Strongest Man coming up in just a couple of weeks now. Time is really ticking by, and it's coming quickly. How's your preparation been going for that competition?
So prep for this year is going really well. Um, I've hit pretty much everything up to now. I'm kind of like a session behind on my deadlift, so I've kind of got one more heavy deadlift where I need to hit a big top set and go for a PB. I've just had a bit of just kind of missed time of last couple of deadlift sessions.
Right.
Felt a bit run down last week and went for something when I really shouldn't. It just kind of put me back a bit. Trouble with deadlift as well. You know you've got to recover quite a lot in between. So it's a tricky one to kind of catch up on.
Yeah.
So I'm hoping next Wednesday I can smash a big deadlift and kind of get back on track with that. Everything else is all going to plan so far. I've hit every set, every rep. Throwing's coming on nicely, which is kind of probably the weakest event for me on those. But that's feeling good. Pressing's feeling good. Normally a strong event for me. Arm over arm stones both feeling good. So yeah, I'm in a good spot. Well, it would be rare that a prep would go better than it has done. You know what I
Right.
mean? You very rarely get one that goes perfectly. So
Yeah.
I'm in a good place. So you get the odd one where everything just seems to fall for you, but no, definitely in a good place. And feeling pretty fresh too, which is a good thing at this stage. Often you can be 2.5 weeks out feeling a bit dead. So I'm feeling ready to really smash these last few heavy sessions.
Yeah, that sounds amazing then for you in your probable challenge for a podium. Obviously, be looking to land on that podium, get back to World's Strongest Man. Not going to be an easy feat though, is it? With this sort of lineup.
No, not at all. So I mean, it's a massive field. I think the theme of this one is just everything's going to be tight. It's going to be small margins. Um, it's quite hard to predict how it's going to go because I feel like it's one of those comps where I know it's a bit of a cliche probably nowadays, but you run it a few times and you can see people being
Yeah.
swapped around just on how they actually perform. Um, there's a lot of guys in the comps, a lot of guys looking strong. So I feel like it's going to be one of those where guys could be second, they could be eighth, any and anywhere in between. So yeah, normally you might have two guys you're looking at, but this company might have 7 or 8 or 9 that you're really looking at being up there on the podium. So yeah, I think it's going to be a very very tight one. I think it'd be a great watch. I think it'd be a fantastic comp to watch. It's rare that you have this much depth that are all capable of being up there for the win. So yeah, I think it'll be a really really interesting comp and a tough one to kind of work your way through.
Yeah, it's definitely going to be with the level of talent that's there. It's unbelievable, but the events are a little bit interesting as well. You've obviously got certain guys that are really specialist at certain events. You've got guys that are unbelievable at deadlifts. You've got a couple of guys that you really think, yeah, they should win the bag toss. And obviously, you've got Tom Stoltman doing stones, which is almost a cheat code win for him at every competition. Um, what do you make of the events? Obviously, a few interesting ones in there with the sort of the deadlifts being you can either do 400 or 360. The carry and hoist event, which is a brand new event for everybody as well.
Yeah, so I really like deadlift. I've still not pulled 400. I've not really had a proper attempt at it in competition. So it's good to be like this 400 kilos. You've just got to pull it. It's
Yeah.
been great. So being able to peak up to that. I really like the arm over arm. It brings in a bit of grip, which isn't always tested. It's a
Mm.
very good thing for me and can catch some of the top guys out. So I'm hoping it does so at this one. But yeah, I think it's a very very test this year. Obviously, you got the max strength on the deadlift, you got the fairly heavy overhead on the 160 axle, power test with the throw in, a bit of grip and endurance on the kind of arm over arm medley, and then obviously stone. So it's a nice broad varied set of events. Probably a bit light on moving, but
Mm.
with the throwing and the arm over arm in there, you can't kind of have everything. But I think it'll be an interesting mix, and there'll be some like the throwing and the arm over arm. It'll be a bit hard to pick, and obviously throwing the thing with throwing and sandbag toss with it being a run, easy one to mess up.
Yeah.
So a lot of pressure on that one. which it's always good at a big show to have an event like that because people really have to be switched on and in the zone for it.
Yeah, I've said to a few people now when I've been discussing this competition and said the bag toss will come down to who doesn't make a mistake. Some of these guys, are going to come out with a hair on fire and just trying to launch it from every angle. I'm looking at Shane Flowers mainly for that. I feel like he's going to be absolutely ramped up for that.
Yeah, I mean Shane's an amazing thrower. He absolutely smashed the run last time at Brits.
Did.
I would imagine he will probably do the same, but it's one of those. It's
Easy
small
to mess up.
margins. You only one by going a bit too high or a bit too far
Mhm.
back, and it can set you back. So I'm sure there'll be some mistakes. But yeah, we'll have to see. It'll definitely be an interesting one to look at.
Just touching on the axle press before we kind of move on. I believe it was at 2012, 2022 Brits, I believe. And I
Yes,
believe
yes.
that's the one where you had a little bit of an interesting technique. I think due down to a sternum injury.
Yeah, so I just whacked myself in the chest
Yeah.
one of the early sessions training the continental clean, and it really hurt. It was really
Yeah.
bad, but it was one of those where if I caught it perfectly, it was fine. But if I caught it a bit low and had to roll up, it was absolutely killing me. And it was kind of, I remember it was almost like shutting down my upper back, like the
Right.
nerve feeling of it. It just kind of
Yeah.
switched everything off. So it was really kind of nerve wracking going into the continental clean after. So I'll just commit to the power cleans. Kind of annoyingly, it was 155 on the day instead of 150, which so at 150 it'd have been just a little bit easier for me to get my reps in. So
Mhm.
still got four, got joint second with quite a few people, but it was annoying not really being able to commit to training the continental for them this time around. Especially with being 160, it'd probably been a bit heavy to power clean. So I've
Yeah.
been hitting my continentals hard and trying to drill those, which are feeling pretty good. But yeah, definitely something you can kind of grind through a bit more rather than power clean, where once it goes, it just goes. You can't really do anything with it.
Yeah. Makes sense. Glad that it's there's no injury this time and you are not going to have to power clean that fully, which is good. Moving on then, looking at sort of your time at UK Strongest Man, it's been a bit of a battle over there at the Ultimate Strongman shows. I know you've done a number of those now, and it seems like you were really working up towards that win that obviously came in 2022 and then backed up with 2023. How did it feel to retain that title?
Yeah, it felt fantastic to retain. Yeah, I mean, I did my first UKs in 2016, didn't make the final. 2017 made the final, came fifth. Next time I did it, 2020 came fourth,
Mm,
2021 came second, and then 2022 finally got the win. So it was a long time coming.
mm,
But yeah, it felt great retaining the title. Felt really good. It was one of those where UK's been a 3-day comp. You've really kind of got to guide your way through quite sensibly because a lot of the events are heavy and a lot of the newer guys you see especially they really try and go out the trap and win everything straight away.
yeah,
So you see a lot of guys getting quite a lot of confidence day one and then maybe thinking they're going to do really well day two and three, but dropping off a little bit of fatigue. So it was a bit of a day one I did all right. Day two I did all right. I did just enough. They weren't really events I'd put much prep in for. It was just, little sprinkles just to make sure I had my eye in.
yeah,
And then day three I was there. I was confident because my training had gone well. But day one and day two hadn't been amazing or electric or anything, which is kind of by design, but there's still that thing in your head like, oh, I hope it is all going right. And I hope when I
mm,
actually get out on the floor for day three on the event, I've really hammered that I'm going to feel as good as I want to. And thankfully I did. Won the yoke first, won the silver dollar deadlift, and then won the incline log,
yeah,
hit big PBs on all of those, and then so everything just came together really well. I did a bit of a mishap on the bull ring wrestle, but it was just a tough one, being a new event. And then we actually had a swap. It was meant to be a car hold, which is one of my best events. So I thought I'm in
yeah,
here if I need to do it, pull anything out of the bag. But it ended up being duck walking power stairs,
mm,
which I hadn't trained for at all because it was the eliminator, so I assumed it wouldn't be anywhere near it.
yeah.
And they put it in. They said, "Well, everyone's trained. It's the fairest event," and I'm like, in theory, yes, but you could have told me this beforehand. But that, thankfully, I was in a good place. I just needed a solid run. I think I came fourth in the last event, but it was just
Mm,
very careful each step making sure everything's on. So it was a nice steady run. But I could enjoy it because I knew I was ahead of Matt in second. Um, enjoy the full event, enjoy the roar of the crowd, get that last implement up on the stairs, and really, take it all in. So it was different to the year before. It was really like, oh, I can really let myself take all this on as it's going on.
Yeah, which is always good to know. Is probably how you want to win a competition. Is giving you a chance to enjoy it on that last event. But yeah,
Yeah. So
no, no, sorry, I would gathering my thoughts as well. I had a little brain fart in myself, um, which is always fun. But yeah, looking to 2024, then are you hoping to retain that for a third time? There's obviously a couple of new challengers. The guys that obviously podiumed last year will have another target on your back to try and one up you and overcome you. Do you feel like it's going to be a tougher challenge this year?
yeah, probably tougher. I mean, Callum and Matt will both massively improve this year. Paddy is doing it this year as well. Obviously, he's on a big tear, so it'll be interesting to see how he gets on. Um, but yeah, I'm looking forward to it. The thing with UK is now for me, I'm very experienced with it, so I feel like I deal with the 3 days really well.
Yeah,
Um, well, I'm definitely the most experienced guy doing it now, so I know really know how to pace myself through that. So I'm looking forward to it again. The only thing is obviously Ultimate Strongman. Some of the events can be quite varied, so
yeah.
I'm fairly well kind of covered now with my base in terms of events, but there may be something that's pulled out of the woodwork that's quite new and that's different. So there can always be a bit of a curveball. So a lot of it will come down to the events, but I'm hoping I can retain again. It's only Eddie and Glenn that have actually won three
Mm.
UK, so to be in a list with those guys would be absolutely massive.
Yeah, quite a big two men to have in company with, being
Yeah,
obviously
totally.
Glenn and Eddie. Obviously, I know Glenn likes to throw, as you mentioned, throw a little bit of a curveball in with some of his events. Keeps things interesting, definitely, doesn't it? Obviously, the bull ring this time was a big surprise, and I know. How do you train for something like that?
Well, I didn't, to be honest, because I had a few things and ideas as setups, but nothing seemed close enough to warrant putting the time in. The only thing I could have really done is done it with someone, but I
Mm,
don't really train with anyone that big, to be fair.
yeah,
And I mean, you need someone who's big and strong, who's at that level.
yeah,
So it's a tricky one, and you can't. It's not one of those where you can go up to someone else who might be at that level who's not competing and say, "Okay, just do this really new event with me and maybe injure yourself," and you know
yeah,
what I mean. So it is tough. So I didn't train it. I think we were the matchup, me and Killian. So I think I probably got my tactics wrong a little bit.
mm,
Um, Figuring it out on the go. I wish I could have seen a couple.
yeah,
But obviously, when you're first out, you've just got us trying to figure out. I spent a lot of time trying to twist the ring out of his arms, which I've seen a couple of guys do when we were practicing,
mm,
and it was just a terrible idea. I should have just spent more time trying to tire him out. But it's
yeah,
one of those you live and learn. Thankfully, it didn't
definitely.
cost me at all in the end. But yeah, it was tiring, really
Mm,
tiring event,
I
working for
bet.
60 full seconds. I mean, some of the guys that had to do kind of 3 full rounds of that were absolutely dead on their feet, bless him. Killian himself, he was
Mm.
absolutely done in getting oxygen in the back because he'd had 3 full-on rounds all the way through.
Wow. Interesting. You mentioned something when I was talking to you about 2024 and UKs and the word experience. Does it feel a little bit weird to talk about yourself being experienced and obviously well versed in these competitions, seeing as you're not even 30 yet, are you?
No, so I'm trying to turn 30 in August, so this year, finally there. After being around for a while.
Yeah,
Yeah, I noticed that I was at a comp this it wasn't one of the ultimate comps. Was it Europe's? It was one on a in London, even though I'm quite older than me. See, I've been around my first comp was 2011,
yeah,
which thinking about it now, it doesn't seem that long ago to me, but now I mean we're getting towards 15 years,
yeah. Wow.
which is a lot longer than most strongman careers. Um, and yeah, it is strange being definitely one of the most experienced guys at every comp now, even though I'm still one of the younger guys, not the youngest anymore, certainly, but normally on the younger side. But yeah, it's definitely something I'm noticing more with in terms of thinking about how I train for events, what I've kind of seen before, changes at events and things like things don't seem to phase me much anymore.
Mm.
You know, if something's changed, it's changed. Like UK's example, they changed the last event. I was like, all right, I've been here before. It's fine.
Yeah.
You know, you just kind of get used to it. So it
Mm.
definitely does help with strongman where it's such a kind of open skill sport where everything changes, and you can have two events that are technically the same, but one might be on grass, one might be on concrete. So
Yeah.
how you approach them changes. So it's yeah, definitely comes in handy. Most situations I've probably seen before. So there's not really much that comes up that's new and surprises me, which is just a useful place to be.
Yeah. Which is, yeah, you say definitely helpful in the wacky world of strongman with things coming out of left field. Taking you sort of back then, how did you first kind of fall in love and start in the world of strongman?
Ooh, many, many moons
I
ago in a
know,
galaxy
take
far,
you all
far
the way
away.
back.
So God, I do feel old now thinking about this. So I started off basically training, lifting weights anyway at home when I was like 14, 15. Got
Mm.
Argos dumbbell set as you do. Then I got a little 5 foot barbell with the spin lock collars. Um, that's when things got serious.
Mm.
And then started going to the gym with a mate of mine from school when I was in year 11. Just local kind of bodybuilding, spit and sawdust type gym. Stank a lot. I didn't have any windows or
Always.
ventilation. And a guy that used to own two chippies used to come in and stink it out for of fish for hours. So sometimes, that was not a nice place to be.
I bet.
It was a great gym. It was good fun. And then basically I was training there and a guy I saw, well, I always remember, he's wearing an Inza shirt. And back then you didn't see a lot of like powerlifting brands or anything like that. I was like,
Yeah.
oh, Inza, that's
Mm.
weird. So I was in the leg room with him. I was doing leg press. And I didn't talk to him because back then I did not speak to anyone. Way too shy for that. So I was leg press. I think he was deadlifting. Didn't really say anything. And then one day he came and I was squatting, and he asked
Mm.
me how old I was. Gave me a couple of pointers because my feet were all over the place. But then we started talking. Asked if I'd ever done strongman training before, and at the time I was just kind of training bodybuilding, power, just strength and size. Typical stuff. You want to get a bit bigger, you want to get a bit
Yeah.
stronger. But I never really thought about any kind of competition or anything like that.
Yeah.
Watched a lot of strongman, but didn't realize it was anything below worlds and Britons. Um, So we got talking. We ended up having a session together. This guy was called Baz, and he trained with a lot of the guys that used to train in the Midlands in like the late noughties, back when it really was pretty, underground.
Mm.
So we trained together once and had a couple of sessions, and ended up training together like full time from then. And then if we used to like jerry rig stuff up, like making duck walks out of like weight trees and farmers walks with the biggest dumbbells. You
Nice.
just make do with what you can. And then basically he and another guy who worked at a gym entered me in a competition in Stocksbridge. And it was a charity comp. It was like what would be a novice comp.
Yeah.
So I entered that. It was just before I turned 17, so I was definitely the youngest in that one. Got my arse handed to me, to be fair. Came second to last, but really enjoyed it and really thought, oh no, this is something I can pursue and be good at. So after that, after that I didn't compete for a while because I didn't like the term novice. It didn't gel well with my young ego. So I wanted to
Fair.
train up and do the opens comps. So I trained for another about 18 months. Entered an open comp at Junction Gym for anyone that's been around for a long time. That's long gone now. Um, Came mid-table in that when I was 18, and then kind of from there just got on the circuit, and just started working my way through the ranks.
Wow. Definitely a journey then from your first comp, sort of all those years ago. What, just 16 will it have been? Yeah, he said just before he turned 17
Yeah,
to now having two World Strongest Man competitions under your belt. If you went back and like spoke to that 16-year-old before his first comp and kind of told him where you are now, would you quite believe it?
yeah, probably. I always had high aspirations, and by that part, I knew I was getting pretty strong. I knew I was really
Right.
strong for my age, so I always basically after that first comp, it was like, right, I'm doing World's Strongest Man. There's no in between. I didn't really want to do a sport where I didn't feel like I was really going to progress. It was after that, I was playing rugby for a bit, but then it was like, right, I'm doing strongman, I'm doing rugby, and I chose strongman, and then it was off to the races. But yeah, it really was like, this is going to be my thing. And to be fair, probably my A level and uni results would kind of show that my focus was very much strongman from being 16. That was it. That was where I was going to go.
Yeah, I mean, it'd be a bit of an interesting one for a few people. I've had Connor Curran talk about his law and Spanish degree, Paddy on with his masters in forensic accounting, and
Oh
now
wow,
you,
that's impressive.
yeah, yeah, educational of these podcasts as well. You learn a lot of things about these
I
guys.
wouldn't have picked that for Paddy. I would
Mm,
not have picked that for Paddy.
yeah,
I didn't think
you
they taught him how to read on farms. I thought you'd just be
well,
there with like blocks,
oh,
putting things in.
he said there were a lot of that as well, but he was very academical apparently as well. Obviously, it's doing well for him now. Obviously, kind of going into coaching and strong. He's doing extremely well in the world of strongman as a you.
Oh
But
yeah, of course.
talking about coaching, you obviously do a little bit of coaching yourself. I
Yes.
believe you coach the or help out the world's strongest woman, the current world's strongest woman, in Rebecca Roberts.
I don't coach Becca anymore. I
Uh
did coach Becca for oh god, what was it? The Arnold and UK's. So second place at the Arnold and she won UK's
yeah,
up until the summertime, sometime before Europe's OSG. But yeah, um, it was great seeing her go on. Well, she came second at Europe's, wasn't it?
yeah,
Then won Britain's
yeah. And
and
then
then won
one
Worlds, of course. Her
OSG.
and Lucy, every comp has just been neck and neck.
It's been an
Um,
incredible 2023 for the women's scene. Not but especially those two, as you say, with them two being extremely close. And you obviously, if anybody knows about the sort of year that, or the past couple of years that Rebecca's had away from Strong Woman as well, to be able to be performing at the level that she is very inspirational, isn't it?
oh yeah, it's been amazing to see. I mean, she's had setback after setback, some awful, awful personal stuff. So it's just been inspirational to see her stay at the very, very top level, and obviously winning Worlds Cup half a year has been absolutely amazing. But yeah, what she's doing is incredible. And it's been great to see her have battles with Lucy too. You know, two Brits at the top, at the very
Mm,
top, literally neck and neck into
yeah,
pretty much every competition. It's brilliant watching for viewers. You know, it's great when you can run away from with a comp for yourself, but as viewers, you want to see battles and you want to see fights, and that's exactly what they're having. So it just makes brilliant and all that kind of stuff.
yeah. I just want to touch on the women's scene. Obviously, you'll have probably more experience in it. Obviously, being married to Shannon, who we mentioned earlier, as a competitor herself. How great has it been the sort of last 12 months to see the women's scene sort of get a bit more of the spotlight? Obviously, with the Giants Live comp for Britain's Strongest Woman being in Doncaster Dome, same weekend as England's Strongest Man, being on the live stream, getting more opportunities to be seen by people. Obviously, OSG this year been unbelievable as well. Sky's the limit really for that for the women's sport as well as the men's.
Oh yeah, it's been incredible. So I mean, I went to the team comp last year. Um, and, you know, it felt really special for me. It's getting to see Donna walk out in front of however many thousands of people. I first met Donna. It was 2014. We were doing Northern England's Strongest Man. It was Mark Lawson's gym, and she was doing like an Atlas Stonewall record. And it was like, here's a tub of proteins. That's fantastic. You know, 50 people, whatever, in the gym car
Yeah.
park. So to see her go from that and now getting to perform in front of these massive arenas and these massive crowds, getting all these views online, and really getting some recognition is fantastic. And then carrying on into this year, seeing Britain's Strongest Woman standalone was amazing.
Mm.
Really great show. The crowd were into it massively. Again, another great battle with Lucy and Becca to really make it a fantastic show. But all around the women's side is coming on hugely. I think people are really realizing how much potential it has, and you've I've often had women at comps ask me, "Do women do this? Do women do this?" For
Yeah.
years now, and it's really nice for them to see now that, oh yeah, they know it's there and it's out there. Everyone's seeing it, um, and it's great because you do see a lot of women watching shows and families, and you'll see
Yeah.
little girls, and they're like strongman. It's great, but seeing women that you can relate to, it's just puts a different spin on it, and it's great for them to see these ladies come up, be role models. Like with Shannon, for instance, obviously, I know her quite well, but
You
like
should do.
seeing her get messages from women getting into the sport and
Yeah.
saying that she's been like an inspiration to them and a bit of a guidance for them, it's fantastic. And they're just getting more and more popular, and I think it'll just grow and grow and grow. It's a similar kind of thing to the weight classes strongman. I think like you see weightlifting or powerlifting or even combat sports now, especially probably women's MMA
Yeah.
is a good example of it. It's just been poo-pooed a few years ago, and now it's absolutely massive.
Mhm.
And the women's fights are on the same level as the men's, so I think it's going that way, and I think we'll see more kind of arena shows for women, more and more really big crowds, big prizes, and just big levels of exposure for them.
Which would be great to see. And those comps are really they're as good as the men's, so they definitely deserve to be given the sort of recognition that the men get as well. I'm sure we all could agree on that. Whenever we've seen sort of OSG Europe's and the women, Britain's Strongest Woman comp, definitely entertaining still.
Oh yeah, it's amazing. I mean, especially at OSG when you have such these massive fields in all the classes, and seeing these real kind of tight knit battles between
Yeah,
them. It's just brilliant to see. And the women's is just as competitive as the men. Some of the athletes
absolutely.
now are absolutely incredible, doing some mind boggling feats.
Ooh, definitely are. Moving on to sort of the rest of the year, then, what does the rest of 2024 look like for Paul Smith?
That is a good question. So there's not a huge deal kind of booked in for now. We've got obviously Britain's coming up. UK's is in the diary.
Mm,
But other than that, there's nothing that's really set in stone for me. Obviously, the big thing at Britain's is to get to Worlds. If you get to Worlds, you're probably going to do Europe's as well, and then you'll kind of see from there. So
mm.
it it's hard for me to say exactly what's going to be going on. I'm hoping that Britain's goes well and get to Worlds in I think it's May time, isn't it?
Yeah,
And that'll kind of take me into early summer into UK's and hopefully another couple of big comps. But for now, I'm not. I never really think too far ahead in terms of comps, especially with Britain's coming up. That's a big focus, and then after that, I'll have a bit more of a clear picture. But really, everything's geared towards that and making sure I do well there.
you've given the wrong answer there. What you should have said is 2024 involves dad duties.
Well, I was thinking, I'm like, does he mean what was it then?
I meant in general.
Ah, fair
I did
enough.
mean strongman, but I thought it might be a nice one to bob in just dad duties in there as well.
Oh yeah, I never know how like sport focused to do these things, but
Yeah,
yeah, I guess the biggest thing for us after Britons will be just getting used to training with a baby,
yeah.
and that'll kind of be the big test. Obviously, with both of us competing at such a high level, we've just got to kind of figure out our routine with that. But we've kind of been worrying about it a little bit, but I think it's one of those where we've just got to do it and get it right. So there's no real choice for it to go wrong because
Yeah.
this is just what we've got to do. So I think it'll be absolutely fine. But yeah, it will definitely be a bit of a different challenge having a little baby to contend with.
Yeah. I'm sure once you get your sort of routine down and sort of get your head around it, you'll be absolutely fine, I'm sure.
Yeah, yeah. To be fair, a few guys have had babies. He seems to focus him really well. Like Shane Flowers has been flying
Yeah. Yes.
since he's had his. And I think it's one of those where if you can get in a good routine, it really makes you kind of have to be on time with things. You might have 2 hours there, and you've got to get stuff done.
Mm,
So it can focus you a little bit more than if you've got sometimes the worst days that you have all day to train or something, and and you just end up being a bit lazy. Whereas with having things a bit more organized and really regimented, it can be a bit of a blessing as well.
Yeah, I just want to sort of wrap up on a little bit of chat around World's Strongest Man. And obviously, again, that was sort of a journey for yourself to get back to it in 2023. Um, your first experience of World's Strongest Man in 2018, sort of, you didn't really get much time to think about competing. Competing, obviously, were a very, very last minute replacement for that 2018 comp. How did that sort of play on your mind, and sort of how did you react to that?
Yes, I mean, it was that it was that close. There was no time to
Yeah.
worry about it. It was literally kick, warm up, go, get on the down stage. Then it was time after the first event I could reflect and kind of get my head around it. But yeah, the first time around it was really tricky because I got the reserve spot,
Mm.
and back then there were different events for each group.
Yeah.
So I probably had 10 or 11 events to cover for the heats and try and fit them in a couple of weeks. So I just felt very unprepared for pretty much anything. And then ended up getting all my worst events in the heat that I didn't get to. Something
Uh,
like if I'd got a log, well, I've done a lot of log, I'm well prepared on that. And it was dumbbell, which back then was a really poor event for me,
mm.
and just stuff like that. I just seemed to get my worst combination.
Uh,
So yeah, it was a great experience, but it really did feel like I am not prepared for this one at all. Um, Felt much better prepared going back this year, but just didn't have a great performance, annoyingly, especially after Brits went so well, and then even UK's 5 weeks after, feeling really
mm.
good. Um, so it it's one of those, isn't it, where some comps go well, some comps go bad, and it's just
Yeah.
annoying when the one that goes bad is the biggest one. So yeah, so hopefully I can get back and I think if I can get back there this year, it's less of a thing as well. Whereas this year it was very much on back at Worlds, on back at Worlds. It was almost like there was too much on it because it had
Yeah.
been so long. Like the story was, oh, Paul's got an invite to Worlds again, rather than it being I'm just going to go in and do what I can do. It was almost like there was a bit too much to it for me, rather than just going in and focusing on the actual performance itself.
Yeah. I'm guessing it was more the excitement to be back after that sort of 5 years away, and that 5 years probably thinking, what do I need to do to get back to that stage? Obviously, everybody in the sport wants to be at that world's strongest man competition and wants to be at that world level, don't they? So, kind of overcoming that probably, as you say, probably was a big challenge for yourself.
Yeah, it was. Yeah, I really. Not, I guess I didn't. I try not to make a massive thing of it too much,
Hmm.
but I think the whole storyline was,
Well,
it was a thing. Whereas I think if we get back there next year, it's going to be less of a thing. I'm just going to be one of the athletes at the comp who's going to
yeah.
do well. Um, So yeah, I think probably use a bit too much mental energy on that side of things rather than just seeing it as another competition to do well at.
Yeah, I think I remember seeing SBD doing sort of videos of yourself and sit down interviews with yourself in the lead up to it, talking about your journey and your story. I think you did you do the photo shoot for the World's Strongest Man t-shirts as well?
Yeah, yeah,
So kind of everything going around it maybe just played on your mind a little bit, but as you say, hopefully, fingers crossed, you will be there in 2024 back in Myrtle Beach. Hopefully, it's going to be a better result for yourself, and you come away feeling like you've really given a good. Well, you don't want to say giving a good account of yourself. Obviously, you'll have felt like you've gone over there last year and given the best version of yourself that you could. Um, but yeah, hopefully in 2024 you get back there and it turns out to be a good competition for yourself.
yeah. That's the plan. Yeah, that's it. Because it's funny, like going to Giants Live with the same guys. Felt really confident
Yeah,
going into like Worlds with them. For some reason, I just didn't feel the same. I think it was kind of a bit of a hangover from the last time, and being a bit more used to that again now. So hopefully, I can go in and just take it as it is.
yeah. So again, sorry, just to finish, I want to hear your thoughts on how you feel like you're going to do this year at Britain's Strongest Man 2024. Obviously, coming up in a couple of weeks, it's your hometown crowd of Sheffield. First of all, how do you feel walking out every time at Sheffield, obviously, knowing that they all absolutely adore and love you?
Oh, it's fantastic. I'm really lucky to be able to do Giants Live consistently every year in my hometown. I think this is it's for seven, number seven now in Sheffield Arena, which is obviously fantastic. The crowd's always huge. The crowd's always really gets behind me, and it is a massive boost and a massive lift. So yeah, that's absolutely fantastic. Definitely very grateful for that support and knowing that I can go in and know that there's going to be a lot of support for me.
Yeah, and then finally, will be the last question, I promise, and I'll let you go. How do you feel like you're going to get on at Britain's Strongest Man? What are you hoping for in terms of a result?
So the goal is to get on the podium. I feel good. It's one of those. Certainly this year, I haven't given it loads of thought as to actual positions. Sometimes I go a little bit, I think, over the top trying to predict
Mm,
where people are. I think this time I haven't really worried about it much at all. It's just been very much I've written my program out, hit these numbers, and if I hit all the numbers, I'll be in a very good spot. But again, with such a big field, there's nine other guys. If they hit all the numbers, they'll be in a very good spot. So I'm just trying to come in as strong as I can. I think I'll do well. I feel really good. Everything's in a good place. So I think I'll be the strongest I've ever been. Um, I'm pretty certain of that. Well, the numbers I'm hitting now suggest that I am already. So I think it will be the strongest kind of performance I've given. But yeah, I've not given massive thoughts to placings because it is one of those like it's going to be tight margins, and I don't really want to obsess too much about where everyone is in relation to each other.
yeah,
Um, I'm just going to try and finish off the rest of the prep, and then obviously do the events as best as I can. But I find with strongman, when you can influence other people so little, I don't find that much benefit of really trying to kind of predict where people are going to be because it's not like say it's a combat sport or anything where you're physically in control of the other person's performance. We're all going to get as many points as possible. Points means prizes. That's our
yeah.
goal. So that's a goal for me. I'm just going to try and get as many points as possible. Hopefully, be pretty consistent. That's the big aim, and just not have a bad event, and that should see me up there near the business end.
Smart way to approach it. I think everybody can agree, obviously, taking it as you can, doing the best you can do, obviously, not too much focus on what everybody else does. End of the day, you can only control what you do, as you say. It's not any way you can influence anybody else's performances. But yeah, that's been fantastic, Paul. So first of all, thank you for joining us, for joining myself on episode 3 of the All Things Strongman podcast. Have you enjoyed it?
Yeah, it's been good. I always like doing the podcasts and talking shops. Yeah, hope it was a good listen for everyone. And
Yeah,
thank you for having me on.
no, anytime, pal. Thank you to everybody who's taken the time out to listen to this podcast or watch it if you're over on the YouTube. We'll have many more coming up in the build up to Britain's Strongest Man. Already got a couple more scheduled in. So keep your eyes peeled. Plenty of content still to come. But yeah, have a nice day, and whatever time you're listening to this, enjoy the rest of your day.
Giantslive.com. Get your tickets for Britain's Strongest Man.
There you go. He's
What
giving the
time to
sales
plug?
call. Somewhere Darren Sadler's listening to this with a big smile on his face.
I would say, to be fair, for anyone listening who's not sure, this is going to be a good one. I can
This
pretty much guarantee this is going to be a very good watch. This might be the best watch you ever have at Britain's. So I really wouldn't. I know everyone says this every year, but I really wouldn't miss this one. I think it's going to be a fantastic show.
You've heard it from a man that will be performing there. I can absolutely guarantee as well that this is the strongest lineup for Britain's Strongest Man. If you do want to watch it, it'll be over on officialstrongman.com. You've still got time to get your tickets as well. They're available at giantslive.com, be at the Utilita Arena in Sheffield on Saturday, the 27th of January. Did I do my sales pitch well there,
Nailed it.
Paul? There you go.
Nailed it.
So yeah, so now we'll head off. Thank you for listening. Goodbye, everybody.